Hi, today we're going to be talking about beginning your research. So in this course, we're going to be doing a research paper that's going to continue growing and growing throughout the entire semester. So we'll just start off talking about beginning research. So the first thing you need to do with your research is you need to find credible sources. There are tons and tons and tons of sources that are out there. Some are trustworthy, some are not. Um, if you're looking for a credible source, you need to think about where you're finding them. You need to make sure that the source is trustworthy. You're not going to write a research paper and then cite a blog, because a blog is generally someone's opinion. Um, your sources should be backed with evidence, and most of the time, there are outliers, but most of the time, a blog, for instance, will not be backed with evidence. It's just going to be colloquial or anecdotal evidence that a person is writing about. It could be firsthand, but some of the things that they are writing about in the blog are not going to be really strong, credible sources. When you are looking for credible sources, you want to also consider the research that you're doing. So if you are researching a certain piece of information, you're going to want to consider different alleys or pathways to look down. There's no reason to look for some obscure journal if an article from a magazine will do, or an article from your local newspaper will do. You have to just consider the research you need to do and look for the sources that fall within that research. And also consider the type of writing that you're doing, because sometimes a source is not going to be credible based on the type of writing that you're doing. We'll go into this in detail later on, and there'll be more detail in your readings as well. So when you are looking for sources, I want you to look at this picture. This is a library, obviously, but this is where you're starting out. There are tons and tons and tons of books and tons of things on the subject that you are writing about. So you need to look for and really hone down the information that you're looking for. So there's some questions that you want to ask if this is the right article or the right paper that you're going to be talking about in your paper, that you're going to be backing as your evidence. First things you're going to want to look at is how recent it was published. There are some disciplines that won't accept any papers or any books published earlier than or more older than 3 years. So if it's a 3-year-old article or a 4-year-old article, it's no good for that discipline. So consider how recent it was published. If you're looking at, if you're writing a paper about computers and the direction of computers in the future, you're not going to want to cite as one of your main sources an article that was written in 1984, because computers have changed so much since that time that it just would not be recent enough. The information would not be new enough. And also, how relevant is the source to your topic? Is it relevant to what you're doing? Is there one line that you can use? If there's only one line from a paper that you can use, then it's probably not relevant to your topic. You want to look at the source and make sure that it is also reputable. So ask yourself, is the source reputable? As you can see, the sixth bullet point is Wikipedia. I'm going to say right now, Wikipedia is not a source that you should be citing in your writing, and I will show you why as we go forward. But make sure your source is reputable. Make sure that each one of the sources that you have has footnotes and bibliographies and other things, because your source needs to be reputable for you to be talking about and using it in your research. Because if you're using a non-reputable source within your research, then your paper is basically not going to be worthwhile. You also want to make sure that your source is accurate, and meaning, are they using correct information, but also are there misspellings in the source that you're looking at? If there are things that are misspelled in the main source that you're using, then most likely it's not a trustworthy source. If somebody is not going behind the writer and editing what is going on, what is being written and published, then it's most likely not a good source at all. That doesn't mean that just because it is published, it can't have a grammatical error or two or misspelling. Those things always fall through the cracks. But if you're seeing a lot of inaccurate grammar and spelling and things, then find a different source. Find a different source for your writing, and you'll be better off. Also look at what is the purpose of the source. What is the person trying to do? Is it an opinion that you are citing? That you can cite somebody's opinion, but make sure that you understand that it's somebody's opinion, because an opinion is going to come from a bias. Is there a bias in the source that you are you're using? So ask yourself these questions, and you will find that you are removing some of your possible uses of sources because they might fail one of these questions. So let's look at Wikipedia for a second. And I'm going to say this again. I know I said it about 2 minutes ago, but Wikipedia is not a strong source for your paper. So let me show you why. All right, this is a Wikipedia article on TJ, Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States. I know that because of Wikipedia. Anyway, sorry, but Wikipedia is not a strong source. The reason it's not a strong source is because these articles in Wikipedia are written by a bunch of different people. It is very possible that this first paragraph, as I have this page open, can be written and rewritten 2 or 3 times while I have this page open. So information might change. Somebody could have accidentally written second vice president. Excuse me. They could have written second vice president and he was really the third vice president, or the first vice president, or something like that. So, and they could have repaired it or fixed it or done something as you were reading the article. So all the information on here, it's fine as a place to begin thinking about it. But what you need to do is within Wikipedia, look for the citations. That's going to be these little numbers here. I'm going to click this 1, and it's going to show you this Wikipedia entry has 387 sources cited within it. These Wikipedia is good for this, because these sources right here, these are what you're going to want to look for. You're going to want to go to this website right here, encyclopediavirginia.org, and find the information about Thomas Jefferson practicing law in number 1 right here. Thomas Jefferson was mainly of English ancestry, etc. So you're going to want to find this information in this source. This is your first level source that you're going to want to look for. Wikipedia, since it's all over the place and anybody can edit it, there can be incorrect information there, and it's just not the strongest of sources, but it can be a place for you to find some sources. But don't make it be the only place for your sources. All right. Back to this. So, as I said before, Wikipedia, not a strong source. Excuse me. So now that you've gone to the library, you've answered these questions, you need to organize your research. So you got a ton of, let's say you got 15 books or 15 articles. It's time to organize what you're looking for. So what you need to do is make sure that you are interested in your topic. That is number one. Because if you are uninterested, then you're not going to see the things in the in the articles that are going to stand out, that are going to help you prove your points. It's not going to be helpful if you're not interested in your article or your research, I mean. And as you're organizing, I suggest you get as many points of view as you can. Don't always look for articles that agree with your point of view. If you're writing a if you're writing an argument essay, you're not going to want to only find people that agree with you, because that shows a bit of a bias, because you're not looking for different points of views. I suggest that you get more than enough material. If you have an essay that is requiring you to have 5 sources, maybe start out with 10, so you can weed out the ones that aren't going to be the strongest, aren't going to be the most credible. When you're reading your stuff and you're organizing, you should have a notebook so you can start taking notes. And what you'll do is you'll find common ground within some of the sources. You'll see that some of your articles might be talking about the same book, or talking about the same article, or talking about the same event. And you can use that to dig a little deeper as you are organizing. So you can find the common ground within the arguments and you can just compile them, push things off to the side if it's just an article that repeats another. I don't know if this is something that you have noticed yet, but there are many news sources that will just reprint the Associated Press, the AP news releases. So they might change a couple words here and there, but they will just reprint them. So you could find the same article, basically, word for word on 2 different sources. So you could say, oh, look, I've got 5 sources, but 2 of them are the same exact one. So you really only have 4 sources, even though they're from 2 different websites or 2 different articles. So find the common ground and then start building your argument from the common ground and from within the research that you're finding. And find the important messages that are within the research that you're finding, because sometimes the important messages aren't going to be something that you see off the bat, and it's not going to be something that you already know about. Sometimes you know what you're looking for because you're looking for an article that's going to be arguing for or against gun control or something like that. You know what you're looking for, but sometimes what you're looking for might not be exactly what you find. And so find the important messages that are within the articles and see if you can find some links to other writings or other articles so you can have a really strong argument, really strong research. Because that is key to writing a good paper, is a strong research. So as you're working on this, there are some definite time. One of the things I suggest is, as you are working, one of the best things you can do is start early. I know that sounds kind of dumb. That's like, oh, yeah, thanks. I know I can start early, but start earlier than you think it's going to, because sometimes reading a 2-page article is not going to just take 2 minutes. It might take 15 minutes because there's a lot of information. So even though you're not submitting your paper or your assignments for a little while, start early, start collecting your information almost as soon as you get into the beginning of the week, so you can get used to doing your articles and your work in smaller pieces. Take the time for reading because, as I said, it can take a little bit longer to closely read the articles that um, you're working with. So take the time for reading. Do not rush through the reading because you're going to find that you might have misinterpreted something because you rushed through it. I suggest that you break the assignments into smaller pieces. This class is built so you do have your assignments broken into smaller pieces. So this course is broken into smaller pieces, but break it down even into smaller pieces further so you can get your papers done and not feel rushed at the end of them. And as I said, take small bites. Just if your goal is to eat a whole pizza, you're not going to roll it up and shove the whole thing in your mouth. What you're going to do is you're going to hopefully invite some friends over, maybe invite me over, and we'll have some pizza together. But yeah, take small bites. You're not going to get the whole pizza eaten if you just try to finish it all in 2 minutes. So, all right. One of the things you're going to be looking at doing this week is you're going to practice your APA and your MLA citation. And there's some differences between those. So we'll look at these. All right. See you later, TJ. All right. APA. APA is one of the types of citation that are used in sciences and other I guess in most of the sciences, APA is used. There are some other specific ones that are used in some of the other sciences, but in the general sciences, APA is probably going to be used a lot more than MLA. But with this course, I suggest that you pick MLA or APA, whichever one's going to serve you the best through your schooling, and learn that one the best. So we'll look at this first one. This article, the 5 Theses on Mass Incarceration, it came from Social Justice. It came from Social Justice Journal, number 42, Article 2, page 5 through 30, written by A. D. Gregorio. This is what it looks like in APA. Notice there is the author's full last name and then the first initial, the year of publication, and a period. And notice how this is written. The only word that is capitalized is the first letter of the article title, and then there's a period. Then the journal or magazine, then there's a comma, and journal magazine is in italics. Then there's a comma. Then the issue number is written like this, and then the pages here. Or maybe that's a date. I'm not exactly sure. So this is what APA looks like. Look at all the sources are arranged in alphabetical order by the first word, so the author's last name. And all the sources have a hanging indent, so that means the second line is indented. You italicize the journal names and the volume number, and all the words are lowercase, as I explained, except for the first word, and then proper nouns. Obviously, proper nouns. You want to always put in uppercase. So this is called a references page for APA. There are some differences in MLA. So here's the same article. Di Gregorio Alessandro is this person's name. Notice the full first name is used. And then it is last name, comma, first name, then a period. See on here, 5 theses on mass incarceration was in was just written out like this. Notice here, this should be entitled. There should be another set of quotation marks right here. So it would have a period quotation mark. And then social justice, volume number 42, number 2. See how it's written out there. 2015, 530, access. This is one of the major differences as well. So I suggest that you look at MLA and APA, find out which one works better for you. There are some major differences between them. This document, by the way, is within the week 1 module. You'll see it's called the MLA citation sample or APA citation sample. So look for these and read through them, follow them, and get your citations correctly done. Try not to mix them up. And I suggest that you find one that works best for you and use that at all times.